greet you all. My name is Khadijah Kintu, and I'm looking at a comparative analysis of the use of UAV, derived models, and the traditional valuation process in rapid valuation for compensation on road infrastructure projects. Why am I looking at the road infrastructure? Uganda being a developing country and then being a landlocked country, we are mostly depending onto the road infrastructure. It's the one it's the one that connects the different regions in Uganda. It supports most of our flights, like every business we have in Uganda. So it's a crucial factor to the economic growth and the improved living standards of the nation at large. And it explains why the government of Uganda invests a lot into the road infrastructure as we tend to achieve the set vision of 2040. Public infrastructure requires land, like for us to put up the different proposed infrastructure projects, we need land, and land is not readily available. So the law proposes that we do compulsory land acquisition. And for us to be able to do compulsory land acquisition, the law again suggests that we compensate the owners of the property where we are proposing to put up the projects. So for us to do compensating the people affected by the projects, we use the traditional process of valuation. Currently, that's what we are using, though this process has constantly shown the different weaknesses regarding time, cost, up-to-dateness, monitoring the corridor, the different developments, the encroachers into the corridor, the accuracy, and that's, though with all those weaknesses, there is the experts in this field are aware of what's going on and the defects or the weaknesses of the current valuation process, but still there is not much that has been done. So there is gap in the research, investigating or even suggesting improvements in the traditional valuation process. So that explains why, or that's one of the motivations for this research, as we are proposing a method that depends on the drone technology to improve the current valuation process that is used in compensation. This study was carried out on the Chaliwajarakira Kasangati Matuga Road, and I will expand more about the methodology as I get there. So majorly the problem that we are handling in this research is the weaknesses. We're trying to see how can we minimize or reduce the weaknesses of the current valuation process, and then also help or reduce the budget inflation on the delayed and incomplete infrastructure projects and the continuous litigation that the government faces in regard to the development of infrastructure projects in the country. My main objective is, like I already mentioned in my topic, to see if there is any significant, because drone technology may not be new, it has been there, but most people are skeptical about using it and they say, it won't be able to perform as good as the current valuation or traditional method that we're using. But then here we are trying to prove that yes, the drone technology that we're talking about can do much more than you think. And how can we convince people? We have to do the research. So the main objective is to see if there is a significant difference between the use of UAV-derived models and the traditional valuation process in rapid valuation for compensation on road infrastructure projects. And the specific objectives, we are comparing the observational and measurable details from both the UAV-derived models and the traditional valuation process. And then we would like to also see or analyze how the property values from both methods relate or compare so that we can come to a conclusion. The hypothesis, the null hypothesis, we're saying there is no significant difference between the two methods, and then the alternative is there is a significant difference. In comparing the observable and measurable details from both methods, like I said, the study was carried out in the Kira Kasangati Matuga Road, We went out. The project is ongoing, and the corridor is already established. So the traditional valuation process has been carried out, and the results are out there. So we just had to do the part of the use of the UAV to be able to compare with what was on ground as a way to ease the process, or maybe what, I don't know how. Yeah, so we flew the drone over the set corridor of the Chaliwaja Lakira Kasanga Matuka Road. Of course, the drone, when it's flying, it takes the images. We come back with the images. We process the images using the global mapper and the Pix4D software, get the Osmo mosaics, the 3D models, and the strip maps were got from the digitized cadastre maps. As we all know, they're the updated ones that we're using currently to be able to get the plots of land along the corridor that were affected. And then from there, we had to look at the 3D models that were generated from the UAV images using the global mapper to be able to get the observable details. If you know anything about valuation, it's dependent mostly onto it has an aspect of personal judgment, how you look at the property and attach a value to it. So we did the observation, like what's the state of the property? That's important. So you need those details to be able to attach a value onto the property. So those are the observable details. The measurable details, we use the measuring tool in Global Mapper, where basically you want to get the areas, the heights, and basically areas and the heights of the building, the land, and count the trees where you can count, or get the areas of the crops and trees in cases of forests and plantations. But it was not enough for us to get the details from the two methods. We had to know what's the importance of each of these details in developing or coming up with a compensation value. So to get the importance of each of the details, we use the questionnaire and use the relative importance index to be able to compare the different details, valuation details. Those are the findings. At the feasibility stage, the valuers are interested in the land affected and the property affected. And this finding shows that from both methods, we are able to get the details using both methods. That's why it's in the intersection. Here, we are able to get the details at the intersection. That's during the valuation stage. And these are the details of interest to the valuers. Then we also have details of beneficiaries, like the name of the person. Yeah, those were got with the traditional method. And then during the post-valuation stage, when we've set the cutoff date, record keeping we were able to get that using both. And then monitoring was only got using the UAV-based method. From the importance of the details, like I said, the details are showing you in the intersection and in the different Venn diagrams. They're here at the different stages. And the relative importance index, relative importance is more like the probability. It ranges from 0 to 1. So anything above 0.5, we're taking it to be important. And anything below 0.5, we're taking it not to be of much importance in deriving the compensation value. So the study shows that all the details the valuers go look out for in the field are of great importance in coming up with a valuation or the compensation value. In analyzing the property values from the details that we've got in the first objective, we subjected them to a valuation approach where we used the sales approach for the land to be able to know what's the value of the land. We used the cost approach to know what's the cost of replacing the development or the building. Like if someone is going to put up the building elsewhere because you're forcing them out of their property, you've got to give them the same amount to compensate them and go elsewhere, live the same life they were living, because it was against their will to shift, but we made them shift because of the upcoming project. The district property rates is where we got the rate for the crops. And then we used the pair t-test to be able to conclude on our hypothesis. The property value is equal to the land value plus the building value plus the plant's value. Those are the findings, like the value of the different properties that we looked at. This is the whole method or process of using the paired t-test. And the conclusion that we came at was from the t distribution tables, the finding was showing that we could not reject the null hypothesis that says there is no significant difference between the values got using the UAV derived models and the traditional valuation process. We couldn't reject at the 90% confidence interval. In conclusion, the valuation details using the UAV-based technology or process, the UAV-based process of valuation is capable of giving us all the necessary details that we need to be able to do the valuation. And all these details, like I already said, they're of great importance in determining the compensation value. In regards to our hypothesis, we couldn't reject the null hypothesis at 90% confidence level. And the recommendation to the government, they should make the policies friendly or more acceptable to the use of the, there are so many restrictions on the use of drones. A colleague has already presented about the framework of using drones and the rules and regulations that are related to that. So the government, I recommend it should be more flexible because the drones can do much more than entertainment. To the academic world, we should embrace this. Let's teach the experts or the people in the industry how much more the drone can do than just look at them for entertainment. I go to entertainment because they're mostly used for entertainment in our country. The technical people here, I'll go straight to the valuers because I'm coming from the valuation background. They should already be, from the findings of this research, embrace the use of the UAV models because, as we've seen, they can do more than what they are being used for. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Khadijah, for the nice presentation. Derek, once again, is my name. My question actually goes towards the practicality of using UAVs in capture valuation data. From the little I know about valuation data, actually, you need 3 components. That is land, then developments, call it buildings or whatever, and then crops. When it comes, maybe we can leave aside the land aspect, because I think you need the area from that, the acreage, the affected acreage. Maybe you can ascertain that. But when it comes to, let me say, buildings, from the UAVs, can you tell the material? Can you tell what is in the interior of the building to come up with a comprehensive value? Then for the crops as well, you need to determine the species of the crop, the other aspects, attributes such as the diameter, to determine the actual value of the crop. Then also the number of crops. Is it possible to obtain all this information from UAVs? If not, is it that this technology can be used maybe for rapid assessment or for reconnaissance? I don't know. To what extent can we really apply it in a realistic way?
All right, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get your name, but I'll go to the buildings. For the buildings, with the details from the images or 3D models got using the UAVs, I'm able to get the area of the building. You talked about the interior. I'm not able to get the interior, but from the estimation background, you're able to get the value of a building. Like you can look at a storage building and you know the rate per square meter. There are different methods of getting the value of a property. Now, maybe if you're going to get into those methods and look at which one is most suitable or which one is more accurate or so, but there are different ways to be able to get the value of the property. Like I could look at this conference hall, so long as I have the area, I can attach a rate per square meter without getting on the inside. I don't know if that answers the part of the interior. And then being able to get the materials used for construction. Yes, you can tell the rough material. You can tell the finish on the outside. You can be able to see the finish in the compound. Anything external, you're able to get it from the 3D models. I don't know from your experience, but it also depends on the technicality of the team you're working with and how they're able to process the information the drone picks from the field around. And if it's like a forest, it's hard for you to pick out one-on-one, but the method you can use to get the rate of crops or plants in a forest is also a square meter based kind of method, where like in valuation, we know that in a square meter, depending on the density of the forest, we could estimate to have, let's say, 6 trees per square meter. So when we have the square meters of that, then we can multiply depending on such. I don't remember the other. I think you talked about the type of the plant that you mean from my study, the way we processed, I was not able to look at the type, see this is this leaf or something, but you can look at like the height of the plant, and you're able to differentiate. Like you can say this is a grown tree, like a grown tree. You have a medium, and then you have a very young, depending on the height. That is in the district traits, and you can attach value depending on that. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, do we have any other comment? Yes, Professor Msinguzi.
A very short one, because we are coming to the time. I see you are using a confidence level of 90%. That means a significance of 10%. Isn't that a big risk? The risk is too much. Should we accept that actually you can use these drones? Because we are not also doubting. You can say, okay, we can use drones, but I'm certain up to 90%. And usually, in many studies, we use 95 or maybe 99. What is your comment on that?
I think I didn't mention, it's an ongoing study. And from seeing that it was at 90, my intention is 95 because that's what's acceptable in our industry. I am going to get more data. That's what I've been thinking, because I feel like with more data, like more subjects studied, the conclusion may change. It may be, okay, like what I'm trying to say is it could be about the sample that I've used for now. Hoping if I increase the sample, I'll get a different conclusion. If I don't, then I'll be able to conclude accordingly.